This video provides a very basic tennis-specific training workout. On Monday and Friday I like to have upper body and abs, Wednesday lower body and back, and Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays I work on speed, agility and endurance with my athletes. In this table taken from the NSCA's Essentials of Strength Training and Conditioning book, you'll see here that they break down the training-specific energy systems. And this is a good guide for tennis players looking to improve fitness, as you'll see that tennis never has points lasting longer than 30 seconds, or very rarely, so we're focusing primarily on the phosphagen and fast glycolytic systems when training. And once again from the NSCA's book, you'll see here a very good demonstration of periodization and how to plan and work your schedule depending on where you are and which phase you're in, whether you're in competition, maintenance, or just beginning your off-season. This is a great starting point to use this table as a guide. The traditional resistance training periodization model is often referred to as a linear one due to the gradual progressive mesocycle increases in intensity over time. An alternative to this model, however, involves large daily fluctuations in the load and volume assignments for core exercises. The differences between linear and non-linear is purely this. In tennis, power is crucial for superior performance. Power is defined by force multiplied by velocity. A lot of athletes are often confused by the difference between power and strength. For example, a large bodybuilder may be very strong, but he lacks power because he has not worked on increasing the speed at which weight or force can be created. Important when working out that complex training, which will be explained momentarily, can be used to increase not only strength but power as well, which is critical for improvements on the tennis court. In practice, a combination of progressive plyometric and heavy resistance methods can provide advantageous results. An intriguing example of this strategy is complex training, in which alternating stretch shortening cycle tasks with heavy resistance exercises within the same session enhances their working effect. This is also known as complex training.
Complex training employs a phenomenon known as post-activation potentiation. It is becoming increasingly unpopular as a means of enhancing an advanced athlete's performance, but may be inappropriate for novices or youths. Many athletes are unfamiliar with the terms anterior and posterior. A simple way to understand this concept is anterior is everything that you can see in the mirror, and posterior is everything that you cannot see. Posterior is everything in the back muscles, the backs of the legs. So make sure that you avoid the anterior workout syndrome, where you really only pay attention to whatever you can see in the mirror, the chest, the quads, the biceps, these kinds of muscles. Make sure that you pay just as much attention to that as you do to the ones in the posterior. As part of the anterior and posterior description, it's very important that whatever you push in the gym, you must be able to pull. Too many athletes work on pushing things, bench pressing, beach muscles. The pulling muscles are the decelerators. They're very important to help with speed, but also with injury prevention. So ensure that whatever you push, you pull.
A warm-up is important before any exercise. A well-designed warm-up can increase muscle temperature, core temperature, and the connecting muscle tissues. After the warm-up, we've now raised our core body temperature. I always encourage my athletes to begin their workout with some pre-hab exercises, as this not only prepares the muscles for the activities ahead, but also helps prevent injuries. In this first exercise here, you'll see me making a Y shape with two very light dumbbells. This exercise really activates and targets the rotator cuff muscles, which are made up of the infraspinatus, supraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. The next exercise here is a T-shaped movement. As you can see here, I keep my pinky fingers together and I bring them out to the sides, just keeping my knees bent and my back nice and straight. Once again, targeting the rotator cuff muscles. I'll now go into an L-shaped movement, still working on the rotator cuff, and again I'm bringing my elbows up nice and high and then rotating that glenohumeral joint. Next we go into a pre-hab exercise called full can, empty can. Again, we're using very light weights here as we're activating just the very small muscles that are responsible for movements about the joint. This exercise is very simple. Imagine holding a can of Coke and simply raising it to parallel to the ground. and then again, but this time emptying out the Coke at the top of the movement. The last exercise in the pre-hab warm-up is a simple push-up, but this time you're doing it from your elbows. Very simple but very effective at activating the necessary muscle groups for the exercises ahead. We begin this workout today using a dumbbell bench press. We make sure that we're in our 5-point body contact position with our head, shoulders, hips and both feet firmly placed on the ground or on the bench. We perform this exercise by bringing the dumbbells down to our chest at our nipple line and then pushing them up. I've used a hybrid technique here which I feel gives less pressure on the shoulders, but you can use what you prefer. You'll notice I bring the dumbbells slightly in towards my armpits as I bring them down. That will activate more tricep than chest, but I do feel there's some benefits to this for tennis players, especially struggling with shoulder injuries. So this is a useful way to help alleviate some of the pressure from that joint. In this video I wanted to demonstrate a traditional dumbbell bench press. You can see that I'm in the 5-point body contact position with my head, shoulders, hips and both feet firmly planted. This time I bring the dumbbells down and instead of rotating them at the bottom, I continue bringing them out so my elbows come out laterally away from my body. You'll notice once again though that I do bring them into my nipple line. Now we come over to the wall and we're going to use a forehand and backhand medicine ball throw. This is working on the complex training part of our workout and again using the philosophy of post-activation potentiation. Looking for 6 to 8 throws, working on speed and power here. When working out in the gym, it's very important that whatever you push, you pull. We've just done a horizontal push with the dumbbell bench press. We're now going to come over and do a horizontal pull in a row. Now this is done by placing both feet firmly on the ground and one hand on the bench. You'll notice I let the weight come down slowly and then I bring it up into my side or up by my armpit. I'm keeping my back very straight. My head should be looking up forwards and my knees are slightly bent. Once again, we use the complex training, but instead of forehand and backhands this time, we're going to do a medicine ball chest pass. Approximately 6 to 8, working on power or speed as we throw that ball into the wall. Okay, now we're going to go into a vertical push. This exercise is called the push press, and you'll notice that the weights are up just above my shoulders. I have both feet firmly planted on the ground, and I'm driving the weights up above my head. This is a great exercise for tennis, as it works strength and power, and it's very important when doing this exercise that you sit back as though you're sitting down into a chair, and the weight stays through the heels in your feet. You want to drop down approximately 10% of your body height, and that's just an approximation. That's going to allow you to drive your legs up into the lift and power those weights above your head. Very important that you have speed when doing this, otherwise you will not be able to force those weights up. And once again, make sure that you start off with a weight that is light until you get the technique down, and then you can build up as you feel necessary. Again, using the complex training methods, we're going to go into ball slams here. Very simple exercise. The medicine ball comes over your head and you're going to drive it into the ground using all those muscles that we've just activated doing our push press exercise. Okay, now after the vertical push we just did, we're now going to do a vertical pull. This is a traditional pull-up. I'm in what we call a pronated grip here with my hands, or my palms of my hands, facing down. This is a very difficult exercise and a lot of players struggle with this one. So if you are unable to do this unassisted, I will now show you how to do it with an assistance. When doing a pull-up, it's much easier to have our hands in a supinated position, i.e. with the palms facing up. This is easier as it activates some more of the bicep muscles, which tend to be stronger for a lot of athletes, especially females. But this is a good way to start. And I've used a green band here, which is tied onto the barbell, and then I put one of my knees inside it, and that provides me a great deal of assistance. I can also do it the more difficult way with my hands pronated as shown in this video, but once again I recommend starting with a supine or a palms up position. This simple exercise is called a keg toss. You do need some room to do this, but it's a very effective exercise because once again we're going to use those activated muscle groups from the pull-ups, and simply I'm just going to stand with my back against the wall and throw that medicine ball as high and as far as I can, driving my legs up to assist and then really using my arms. Here from a different angle you'll see I'm really working on trying to get that ball elevated nice and high. This is a weighted push-up, which is very similar to a bench press. However, in this exercise we do activate more core, so there are some more benefits over a bench press. This exercise is very simple. It's a push-up, but what we've done is we've placed the weight at the top part of my back. If you are unable to do a regular push-up, do not do this with a weight. Ensure that you have proper technique with no weight and gradually progress up, starting with very light weights. At the cessation of the weighted push-up, we can do what we've referred to as clap push-ups. This is again using the complex training and a slight plyometric exercise here, working on speed or power. And remember, power is a result of force times velocity. Okay, in this exercise we're doing a TRX row, which is very simple. Most gyms are equipped with them nowadays. Make sure that you keep your body nice and straight like a plank of wood, core tight, butt tight, and you're just slowly bringing yourself up and then letting yourself back down, working the eccentric and concentric motions. Make sure though that you do not have any movement other than where you have your arms and shoulders. I see too many people doing this, moving their hips up and down to try and help them up. This is the incorrect technique. Make sure you stay nice and stiff throughout your body. Now, to make this exercise easier, you can stand further back as I'm demonstrating here. This puts less weight on the rope and that will allow you to have an easier pull. In contrast, I can bring my feet further forwards, changing the angles, and this will make the TRX row considerably more difficult. After our TRX row, we're going to go into some warrior or battling ropes. This is working those same or similar muscle groups that we've just done using our TRX, and we're in a nice position here with our back nice and straight, head up, knees bent. An excellent exercise for power, strength and endurance. When using a gym program, it's very important to try and mimic the similar movements that we see on the tennis court. This principle is called SAID, or Specific Adaptations to Impose Demands. Andy Roddick is an excellent example of a player with fantastic pronation. When serving, we use a similar pronation as seen here on this physio ball. This is working our triceps. Rather than doing a simple or traditional tricep extension here, we're laying on the physio ball with our hips nice and high, feet firmly planted on the ground, keeping our elbows still and bringing those weights down behind our head and back up as though we were serving. Now we go into a bicep sprinter. Also on the physio ball with our feet firmly on the ground, and we're bringing that weight down by our side and then up at the top, turning it at the very end to get extra range of motion. In this first abdominal exercise, I'm using a core bar, which is excellent for improving strength throughout the main muscles, the serratus anterior, transverse and rectus abdominis, and also provides a great deal of stability. You'll notice here that my feet are in a nice wide open stance position, and I try to keep my arms as straight as possible to really work on rotation throughout the trunk. As I move on to the next exercise, the ultimate abs, I've simply hooked my feet under the bench press bar on the Smith machine, and I've got my butt on the edge of the bench, and I'm simply coming down, touching the floor and raising myself back up. Really excellent at working those deep muscles. Next I go into a very simple incline crunch. However, I am adding an element of rotation here, which is so important for tennis players, as there's so much rotation going on almost every shot. So just a little more tennis specific than a traditional crunch. If you watch Roger Federer here in this forehand, you'll notice that as he hits it, his forehand, his right arm is pushing forward and his left hand is pulling back. This is a very good forehand here for us to copy, and what I wanted to do here is share with you an exercise called the push-pull, which is very similar to the motion of a forehand. You'll notice here that my right hand is pushing forward and my left hand is pulling back, and I'm also remembering to use my legs to generate some power up from the ground. Very good exercise to mimic a forehand ground stroke. Make sure when you're doing this exercise that even if you are right-handed, make sure you maintain a balance and do this on both sides. Keep your feet nice and wide, slightly outside of shoulder width apart. Keep your feet in an open stance position and really work on driving that leg up, and the power will come from the ground up through the core, into your shoulders and out into the hand. In this final set of mat exercises, we're going to start off with some simple bicycles. This is done by bringing the elbow to the opposite knee. We'll then move into some simple flutter kicks, bringing our feet 6 to 12 inches up off the ground and back down. This works and targets the lower abs. We will then go into some simple crunches. Although not as good as a rotational crunch, the great thing about these exercises is they can be performed almost anywhere, whether it's at a tournament, in a hotel room or in a gym. And finally, we'll finish off with a bridge exercise. This is an excellent way not only to build strength but also stability. And you'll notice that I'm on my elbows and forearms and the tops of my toes, and I'm keeping a nice straight posture with my butt down and my back nice and straight. In the first prehab exercise, we're doing some simple lateral sliders. This is an excellent way to warm up and activate all the hip flexor muscles and muscles in the upper legs and groins, including the gracilis, adductors, abductors, iliopsoas, rectus femoris, and the sartorius, as well as many other muscles in the surrounding tissue. The excellent thing about this, remember, is that tennis is a sport that requires over 70% of lateral movement, so this is very tennis specific. The other reason I love this exercise is that this is done using some simple furniture sliders that you can purchase from Home Depot or Lowe's for about $10 to $15, and the great thing about these is they can be used for so many other different exercises. In this second exercise, we're doing some simple expand walks. The great thing with these is they really activate and get the glutes firing, and this is a very underused muscle. It's very important. Famous strength and conditioning coach Mike Boyle once used the phrase glute amnesia, because people nowadays sit so much that they actually forget how to use and fully take advantage of the power that's available in the glute muscles. So this is an excellent way to activate them and get them ready for the workout ahead. Very simple exercise. Hook the band, a very, very light band to start off with, around my feet, and then hold it up in an X position with my hands. And what you're going to notice is that I've slightly internally rotated my feet, which internally rotates my hips, of course, and that gives me some extra strength building through this workout. So a little bit more bang for the buck here. In this third and final prehab exercise here, I'm using something called a clam shell. You'll notice that I've positioned a resistance band slightly above my knees. I'm laying on my side with my head in a fairly neutral position, and I'm simply keeping my feet together and lifting up my knee so that it raises up and back down as shown in the video. This is an excellent exercise once again for activating all parts of the glutes, glute minimus, glute maximus, and glute medius, and that's very important for the workout that we've got planned ahead. Okay, to begin today's workout, we're going to start off with a single leg squat. This is an excellent exercise for tennis players, as tennis players are often playing shots off of one leg. I prefer this for that reason over the traditional two-legged squat. However, you may need to go to the traditional squat when you're getting to heavier phases of your periodization, simply for stability and strength. Now, what you'll notice here is that I put one foot on the bench, making it nice and comfortable, and then I'm simply using my other leg and dropping my back knee as low to the ground as possible, whilst trying to keep my back nice and straight, and the weights I'm simply dropping them down and keeping a neutral head position. So you'll see again here, as I go down and up, the weights are going right down by my side. I'm not leaning over with my back. I'm simply letting the weights bring me down and then driving my leg back. Okay, so now we have the same exercise here, just shown from a side angle, and this really is an excellent exercise for all the quadricep groups muscles, such as the vastus lateralis, rectus femoris, vastus medialis, and vastus intermedius. It's also an excellent exercise as well because it will also target the biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and semimembranosus, all the core parts of the hamstring group. So this is an excellent exercise to begin, and a very tennis-specific one, as it is off one leg. It does take some balance initially, but you can start doing this exercise with no weights to begin with. A lot of athletes will struggle just using their body weight. So start off with just your body weight going up and down, get used to the exercise, and then progress into some weights. Remember, to improve power, we need speed and strength. We've just worked the strength component. We're now going to work the speed component using this very good skater exercise. You're starting off on one foot, pushing across like you're ice skating, and landing on the opposite foot, holding the balance and then driving back. Now remember, when working out, whatever we push, we've got to be able to pull. We did a push exercise, so to speak. We're now going to follow that up with a pull. So we worked the anterior side of our body work first. Now we're going to work the posterior. We're doing a very simple single leg RDL here, a Romanian deadlift. This is really targeting the hamstring groups. And what we're going to do here is simply hold the weight, use the wall for balance, and I'm going to keep my planted foot on the ground with a very slight bend in it. We don't want a completely stiff leg. We want a slight bend in the knee here, and this is going to really help us target that hamstring. And again, the wall is there for balance. You'll notice that I'm holding the weight in the opposite hand to where my leg is planted, to the one that is planted, sorry. And you'll notice here that as I go down, the weight is going directly down. I'm not moving the weight forwards or backwards or to the side. I'm just literally putting it straight down as though I was picking it up or putting it down onto the ground in front of me. As always, we're trying to keep it tennis specific. You'll notice that single leg RDL that we just performed has a very similar motion to when we land off a serve, as shown here. So what I want to do, this will be the complex training part of this exercise. We're going to go in and do 3 on each side, 3 with your traditionally dominant hand, and then you're going to attempt to do it with your non-dominant hand as well, making sure you maintain balance and working on that form. We're now going to go back and work on the quadriceps here. Now what I'm doing here is a very simple lunge exercise with a dumbbell. Now a couple of important things to remember when doing this exercise. One, keep a nice and straight back, very important for this exercise, as you can cause unnecessary pressure on the wrong joints. The second very important thing here is put that back knee down almost to the ground. Some people actually like to use the ground as a marker or a reference point. That's fine as well. Now another very important thing here is you'll notice that as I'm doing this exercise, I'm walking from one lunge straight into the next. A lot of people will take a step and then they will bring that foot back to neutral and then go into the next step. Not as productive or efficient as what I'm doing here. This exercise is not only going to work strength, but it's also going to work balance and coordination. So when trying to do this, make sure you're going from one step straight into the next one with no pause step between. It's also very important here that you start off with the body weight and then progress into heavier weights as you understand and get stronger with your legs. Now most fitness trainers will advocate a lunge where the knee is not over the toe as shown here in this video. However, in tennis, most of the time your knee will be going over the toe as shown here in this diagram. You'll notice my knee goes past my toe and fitness trainers hate this. However, when you play tennis, as I mentioned, so much of the time this is happening. So I am firmly believing that you need to practice the positions that you're going to be in on a tennis court, and having the knee over the toe is definitely one you will be in a lot. Even Novak Djokovic shows it here as he pushes over to that forehand here. You're going to notice as he sets up and loads, that knee is going to come way over the front of his toe. So he needs to be strong in that position, and that's why it's so important to work the positions that you're going to be in on the tennis court. Specific adaptations to impose demands. Once again here for the velocity or speed part of our power formula, we're working here on a sled push. I've got very simply a sled here loaded up with 90 pounds of weight, and I'm driving it from one side of the gym to the other. Make sure you have plenty of open space to perform this exercise, and then I'm going to push it back using the higher bars, but I'm really driving my feet into the ground on my legs and pushing that sled as fast as I can. Okay, once we've done the lunges, we're going to now go back into our hamstring exercises with the hamstring falls. Very simple exercise here. You're just going to lock your feet in place and simply lean forward, trying to keep your back and body as straight as you can. I actually have a little too much bend here, but the straighter you can be, the better. And this is an excellent and very challenging exercise to improve the strength of the hamstring muscles. And what you'll notice here is as I'm going down, I'm really working on that eccentric phase of my movement, and then as I come back up, I'm really working on the concentric. Both very important for speed in tennis. Now if that's too easy for you, you can start adding a weight as shown here by placing it across your chest, but I recommend as always that you start off with no weight in this exercise and slowly build up to it. This is a very challenging exercise, so if you have any weaknesses here or any problems in that area of your body, I really don't recommend this exercise. It is an advanced level exercise, but I thought I'd put it in here for the advanced athletes. We now move into the complex training part of this exercise, and we're doing some hamstring pulls. We're going to lay down supine on the bench, and we're going to use a resistance band hooked around our foot, and we're working here on speed. Although this is slowed down for the sake of the video, I'm trying to get you to do this exercise as fast as you can, working on speed and explosion after we've activated those muscles with the hamstring falls. As always, make sure maintaining balance by using both feet or both legs in this exercise. We're now going to progress into a dumbbell step-up. This is an excellent exercise for working on vertical strength and power, which is needed for shots such as the serve in tennis. In this exercise, I'm stepping up onto a box here, and you'll notice that I'm trying to keep my back nice and straight, and as I come up, I'm not jumping up or pushing up with a foot that's on the ground, but rather I'm using the foot that is on the box to drive me up off the ground. That's the biggest mistake I see a lot of athletes making. Also, very important that you choose the right height box. You'll notice that I want to try to maintain approximately a 90-degree angle with the knee that is on the box. So in this position here, I have a nice 90-degree angle, and that's very important that we don't make that box too high, as we'll put unnecessary pressure on the knee joint. So again, look for a box that's approximately knee height, or maybe even a little lower to start. And get a very light weight. As always, start off with no weight if necessary until you get the movement down. Keep your eyes fixed on something in front of you, which will help your balance, and drive that leg that's on the box up, pulling your whole body up. And once again here we'll work on some speed. We're going to just use some simple frog jumps here, where we're going to load our legs and drive ourselves forwards. And this is excellent exercise to do, and it's very simple for anyone to do. Just driving yourself as far as you can using those activated muscles. The kettlebell swing is an excellent exercise for tennis, as it works on strength and power as well as muscular endurance. It's a very good tennis specific drill, and I love this because you can really feel this work in your quads both eccentrically and concentrically, as well as your glutes. Make sure when you're performing this exercise though that you hinge from the hips rather than doing a full squat. It's also very important to keep your back nice and straight and keep your abs nice and hard as you perform this exercise. And make sure that you use timing. Just like tennis, this exercise requires a lot of timing. You can now see the same exercise from a different angle, but what I want you to pay attention to is that my feet are just slightly outside of shoulder width apart, and I don't force that weight up way above my head. I'm keeping it at most parallel to the ground, but I'm letting the weight fall back down and then using my glutes, my hamstrings and my quads to help drive the weight back up. Okay, we're now going to perform something called a box jump. This is a very advanced level plyometric drill. It's a very simple drill to perform, however. You simply face the box and make sure that you're in an upright stance with feet shoulder width apart, and you're going to use both arms to help propel you up onto the box, landing in a half squat position. Make sure that after you finish this jump that you step back down as shown here in the video. We're now going to progress into a rotational lunge, and I love this exercise because this is as tennis specific as it gets. Very similar to a forehand or backhand motion when returning a fast or deep ball. What you'll notice here is that I keep the weight firmly against my chest, which helps keep my back nice and straight, and I'm simply pivoting my outside foot before turning and placing my outside knee onto the ground. We now progress into some single leg forehand and backhand medicine ball throws. This is an excellent exercise for tennis players as it really works on the power aspect. The disadvantage of this is that you do need someone to assist you with it, or you can use a wall if you have that available. Simply place one foot as shown on the box, and then you're going to receive the ball just like receiving a forehand or a backhand, sink down into your knees and then drive that ball back up as shown in this video. Make sure that you repeat this exercise, of course, to the backhand. You're just going to reverse legs. And again, as when you receive the ball, you're going to catch it, absorb the catch, and then drive everything back up as fast as you can, throwing the ball with speed and accuracy. In this hamstring exercise, we're going to lay supine on the ground facing up. We're going to use a very simple resistance band here tied to the pole, and I'm going to place my feet on the ball, bringing the ball forwards and backwards, working the eccentric and concentric actions of my hamstrings. Moving into our speed, we're going to just do some simple forehand and backhands here. Open stance using a mogul step. But you'll notice here I'm just working on speed, keeping my back nice and straight and my head looking forwards at the ball or the opponent. Very simple exercise here as our complex training. We're now going to progress into a simple calf exercise here. This is a great exercise as it's really going to work all aspects of the calf, including the gastrocnemius, the soleus, the flexor digitorum and the tibialis posterior. A very simple calf raise here that I'm just doing on the edge of a step, and I'm holding the bar for balance. What's very important though about this exercise is that when I'm performing it, I do it with all three variations, which include with my feet in a neutral or forwards facing position, and then a pigeon-toed position where my toes are pointing inwards, and then finally I'll progress to a position where my toes are facing outwards. Very important that you do work all three here, as it's very important for tennis players that they're able to have strength in all of these positions on the tennis court. We now immediately go into the speed component of our training, and I'm simply doing some line hops here on one foot. We'll do approximately 6 on the right leg and then 6 on the left leg for balance. Very simple exercise here, but very important. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is a lower body and back day. So now we're going to work on some specific exercises for strengthening the back. It's very important that when we work on the abdominals that we maintain balance in the posterior or the back muscles at the same time. This is a very simple back extension exercise performed on a Physio ball. Very simple to do, but make sure that you incorporate this, as a lot of people don't. Finally, we go into an exercise here called a shrimp, a very simple exercise laying on the ball, and I've got my elbows firmly on the ground. I'm just throwing my legs up into the air and then bringing them back down. This will really work and strengthen the erector spinae